All right, let's talk about something that affects over 1 billion people around the globe, but often does its work in total silence, right up until it's too late. We're diving into hypertension. You probably know it as high blood pressure. So, to kick things off, let me just ask you this. When you think about the biggest health threats out there, what pops into your head? Things like pandemics or cancer, right? Well, what if I told you that the single biggest driver of death and disability on the planet was something far more common and way, way quieter? The answer, and this comes straight from the World Health Organization, is hypertension. It's earned this nickname, the silent killer, for a really good reason. Most of the time, there are zero symptoms. None. You can feel completely fine day in and day out while it's quietly damaging your body's most important organs. To really get our heads around this, we have to look at the sheer scale of the problem. Seriously, this isn't some small issue. It is a full-blown global epidemic that's just hiding in plain sight. 1.28 billion. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many adults worldwide are living with hypertension right now. To put that into perspective, in many places, that's roughly 1 out of every 3 adults you see walking down the street. It's staggering. So what are we actually talking about here? Well, clinically speaking, hypertension is when your blood pressure is consistently high. We're talking 140/90 or higher. And the key word there is persistently. This isn't about a single high reading you get after a stressful meeting. It's a chronic condition where the force of blood pushing against your artery walls is just too high all the time. And the fallout from that constant pressure? It's huge. Hypertension is directly responsible for an estimated 10.8 million deaths every single year. That's more than a lot of infectious diseases put together. So yeah, this silent condition has a very, very loud impact. Okay, so we've seen the global picture. Now let's zoom in and bring this home, focusing on India, where this challenge is especially tough. According to the latest data from the National Family Health Survey, almost 30% of adults in India have hypertension. That is a massive slice of the population, easily over 100 million people who are dealing with this risk. And when you dig into those numbers, you see a pretty clear pattern. It's a bigger issue in urban areas, hitting nearly 34% of people, compared to about 28% in rural parts of the country. And this really points to lifestyle differences, right? Things like more desk jobs, more processed food, and just the higher stress levels that can come with city living. But here, right here, is the most mind-blowing part of the story. A full 50%, half, of the people with hypertension in India don't even know they have it. Then, of the half who are aware, the vast majority don't have it under control. So when you do the math, it turns out only about 12% of everyone with hypertension is actually managing it properly. That gap is the real crisis. Okay, so we've seen the scale of it. Now let's get personal. What are the things that actually put you at risk for developing high blood pressure? Because figuring out your own personal risk profile, well, that's step 1. You can really split the risk factors into 2 buckets. In one bucket, you've got the stuff you can't change. Your age, your genetics, your family history. That's just the hand you were dealt. But then you have this other, much bigger bucket of things you can change. These are your lifestyle factors, what you eat, how much you move, your weight, and habits like smoking or drinking. And get this. Research shows that a whopping 70 to 80% of all hypertension cases are tied to those lifestyle factors. Now that might sound scary, but it's actually the most hopeful piece of news in this whole explainer. It means that for the vast majority of people, prevention is totally within your control. So what actually happens if you just let high blood pressure run wild? Well, that constant, relentless pressure takes a serious toll on your body's most critical systems. And that leads to some pretty severe problems down the line. It causes something doctors call target organ damage. We're talking about your brain, which is at risk for stroke and dementia, your heart, which can lead to a heart attack or heart failure. Your kidneys can develop chronic disease. It can even damage the tiny blood vessels in your eyes, and that can lead to vision loss. It really attacks the whole system. Now, doctors have a really clear way of classifying blood pressure to know how serious it is. You can see the different stages here, from normal all the way up through pre-hypertension and then stage 1 and stage 2. Knowing your numbers and seeing where you fall on this chart is absolutely vital to understanding your personal risk and how urgently you need to act. All right, we've laid out the problem. Let's pivot and focus on the solution. What can you actually do to take back control of your blood pressure? Let's get into the action plan. The number 1 absolute first line of defense isn't a prescription. It's your lifestyle. For so many people, especially if you're in that pre-hypertension stage, just making these changes can be powerful enough to bring your numbers right back down to a healthy range. And here it is, a super simple 5-step game plan. 1. Work on weight reduction, aiming for a healthy BMI. 2. Adopt a diet like the DASH diet, which is just packed with fruits and veggies. 3, and this is a big one, cut down your salt. 4. Get moving, at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week. And 5. Moderate your alcohol intake. It's that straightforward. Now, sometimes lifestyle changes aren't enough on their own, and that's where medical management comes in. There are some really effective medications out there. But, and this is so important, about half of all patients stop taking their meds within the first year. Sticking with the treatment is absolutely crucial for keeping things under control long term. Okay, for our last section, let's zoom back out one more time. Really fighting hypertension takes a 2-part strategy. You need big public health policies, and you need empowered people taking action for themselves. On the policy side of things, India has some major programs in place, like NPCDCS and Ayushman Bharat. The goal of these is to make it easier for people to get screened, get access to free or affordable medicine, and just get the treatment they need. They're creating a really important safety net. So what's the bottom line here? What should you walk away with? It really boils down to this. First, know your numbers. Get screened. Second, embrace that healthy lifestyle. Diet and exercise are your superpowers. Third, if a doctor prescribes you medication, please take it as directed. And last, just remember that small, consistent changes add up to a huge impact on your health. So, we've covered the what, the why, and the how. The knowledge is officially in your hands now. The only real question left is, what's the first step you're going to take? Whether it's for your own health or to help someone you care about, the power to rewrite the story of the silent killer, it really does start with you.